from the former requirements of 20 square feet per person to about 40 square feet per person. Families who live in one household do not have to social distance in that place or in that space. Everyone will receive a kit when they arrive at the evacuation centers, including a mask, gloves, hand sanitizers, and wipes. It's always good that you can always bring your own as well. Everyone will also be screened. Their temperatures will be taken, and they will be asked about any symptoms that they may have. Miami-Dade County Public Schools have already been working diligently on a deep cleaning of their facilities, and we are grateful for that. Also, meal times will be staggered so that not everyone is standing in line at the same time, and when they are standing in line, they'll be required to social distance. All of our COVID-19 precautions at our shelters are in line with recommendations by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Now about evacuations. I'm going to say it again, the priority will be serving our elderly and our special needs residents first. If you're going to evacuate because you live in a storm surge evacuation zone, you only need to travel a couple dozen miles to get out of the evacuation zone. You do not need to leave the entire state or Florida to be outside the evacuation zone. Remember, run from water, hide from wind. If you have pets, we also have pet-friendly evacuation centers. Be sure to bring a kennel, pet food, and other necessary pet items. You can check the Ready Miami-Dade app to see which centers are pet-friendly and what they want you to do to bring with your pets. Very important that you wait until we announce which centers are open. Not every evacuation center will open for every storm. We do not want people dehydrating in line while waiting to get into an evacuation center that might not even be used for that storm. Please keep in mind that the purpose of these evacuation centers is to keep you safe. I remind everyone these are emergency events. They're not picnics. This is especially true during the COVID-19 pandemic. Only bring essential items like a sleeping bag, non-perishable food, any medicines and water. And that's a sleeping bag also, not a mattress. Do not bring mattresses. If you require a special diet or have food restrictions, please bring your own food. Also, this is very important. Do not wait until a storm is coming your way. If you or a family member have medical needs and will need evacuation, you can sign up for the county's Emergency Evacuation Assistance Program at our website and complete an application. Please sign up now. Do not wait until the storm is coming our way. In the past, way too many people who have signed up for evacuations canceled their call as the storm lingered in the Atlantic. Then at the last minute, as the storm gained force, they wanted to sign up again. By then it was too late to get those folks to safety. You can register for emergency evacuation at miamidade.gov or call 311. Now, before I take your questions and introduce Chairwoman Edmondson, I also want to speak briefly about this weekend's disturbance. I have two special guests here today who became beacons of light for our community on Sunday when some troublemakers tried to break into the CVS pharmacy across from the arena on Biscayne Boulevard. I want to introduce Ben Torrens and Richard Dumbroff. Ben is a Miami native and teacher at Miami Arts Charter. He was raised on the Miami River in a working-class home. Richard is a real estate agent with Berkshire Hathaway and lives in Miami Shores. He moved to our area a couple of years ago. Ben and Richard participated in a peaceful protest on Sunday seeking justice in the horrendous death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. I wholeheartedly agree that what happened to Mr. Floyd was an assault on his rights, and the officers involved must face justice. I also support everyone's American right to protest, but we cannot do it by setting things on fire or breaking and looting businesses. That is not a peaceful protest. And I know most of our protesters are peaceful. The vast, vast majority are. And thanks to Ben and Richard and others, that message came across in our community for all the world to see. When things got a little crazy and a few people were trying to break into the CVS, they confronted the troublemakers, and in so doing, they prevented violence from destroying the good intentions of the protesters that are seeking justice. Let's give them a round of applause that they deserve. I want to show a video that they took before I bring them up and introduce them to you. Those actions prevented a group of folks that were not there for peaceful purposes from breaking into a CVS and causing destruction and looting. And they, along with others, as you saw from that video, I think are heroes of our community, and had the right spirit of what the protest was all about. And I want to bring them up and congratulate them. And we're looking for the others that were involved there so we can honor them as well. Let's give them a round of applause. Yes, absolutely.
I just wrote a small little thing. It's more like a history lesson. Good afternoon, Miami-Dade County. Is it okay to take off the mask? Or? Thank you for having me here today to address you all. As we're aware, this last weekend was a trying time for our community. In the span of 2 days, we witnessed the horrors of mob violence and the pain of police brutality in action. However, we also experienced the power of the next generation, raising their voices and saying, enough is enough. We saw love, compassion, care, and solidarity in a movement bigger than any single person or power. As you could probably tell by the news footage, social media posts, and live streams, this movement is made up of young people like myself who are starving for the world that our parents, grandparents, and forefathers promised us, the world of the American dream, and special to us, the dream of Miami. Though a few of us stand here today, what many of you do not know is that there are countless others whose voices are desperately trying to be heard to help us build the Miami that so many of us dream to see one day. This city is rooted in diversity. We are the only major metropolitan city in the U.S. founded by a woman, Julia Tuttle. When founded, our city, though segregated, temporarily lifted voting restrictions in 1896 to allow African Americans to vote in Miami's incorporation. In the Deep South, we have been a haven for Jews when anti-Semitism was commonplace. We even share our beautiful land with those who have fought for generations to protect it, the undefeated people of the Seminole tribe and Miccosukee tribe. And of course, our influx of those seeking freedom from tyranny and death from the despotic governments of some Caribbean, South, and Central American nations. You know which ones. Today is not the beginning of Miami's diversity. It has always been a part of us. Whether you were born here and have roots going back to the forgotten frontier of Biscayne Bay, or have just arrived from some faraway land with nothing to your name, let me say that you have a home here. With that, I say that we must protect our diversity, and to do so, we must be the vanguard and say that Black Lives Matter. From George Floyd to Arthur McDuffie and beyond, we as Miamians stand together against violence, against racism, persecution, and hate. We are the Magic City for a reason. We make the impossible possible, and we will stand together to build the Miami that our forebears promised us, one of justice, love, and kindness. Thank you.
Benjamin, please come here. Richard had to step out. Okay. But I just want to commend you for your leadership in today's times that we're living in right now with the horrors that we're seeing in Indianapolis. In Minneapolis, I tell you what, it's leadership that we need. And this man here, Benjamin Torrance, and Richard showed that leadership on the scene in the midst of chaos. They were able to control a situation and prevent further escalation, which is what's called de-escalation. Thank you so much for setting that example for this community, for all of us. We truly appreciate you. And I just want to say that the Miami-Dade Police Department stands with you here today. And I'd like to give you a certificate of appreciation from the Miami-Dade Police Department, as well as our departmental coin. So that you could keep, since you are so well versed in history, this is a moment in history for us. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. I'm honored.
Thank you, Director. Do any of you have any questions for Ben? While he's up here, might as well. Huh? Lo voy a hacer después. Okay, primero, first questions in English. Okay.
Can you just explain what he did, what happened?
He could use
that mic over there? Oh, right there. Yes, sir.
My name, I'm 29, and I was on the sidelines, as part of the peaceful protest, and I was filming for so many of my friends for various reasons, usually relating to COVID-19. I'm very privileged and lucky to be able to not worry about being too close to someone's vicinity and I could get sick. So I went to film not just for my friends that couldn't be there themselves, but also as a teacher of social studies, specifically a 12th grade government economics. I teach the First Amendment constantly throughout the year, and to say, where was I, 10 years from now, where was I during the Miami protests? I wasn't going to say that I was just home watching Netflix.
Can you explain, like, we saw the footage, when you got there, were people already stopped people from breaking the...
It was coming to an end for the peaceful demonstration because we knew the curfew was coming, and we didn't want to have a repeat of what had happened the day before with the violence caused by agitators. So we had actually, including Richard, had been making sure to announce to everybody we were going to dissipate and let the demonstration end peacefully as it was intended. All of a sudden, we started to hear what sounded like, the rocks being thrown at the local CVS across from the American Airlines arena. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared when I realized that looting was possibly about to happen. But an old saying goes is that bravery is not the absence of fear, it's doing something despite it. So I ran, and Mr. Richard was already making sure he was the first one there to keep his arms up and say, we can't loot, we must stop. And, well, who would I be if I didn't run up and join him? So that was exactly what I did. Absolutely. I feel that if you look at the footage of yesterday's demonstration, no one had any kind of inkling in that demonstration to go and be violent. We marched in this hot Florida sun for hours, and we did so because we wanted to prove that we exist, we're here, and we want to be heard. And for those that can't speak up for themselves, that we would speak up for them. So we wanted to make sure that the message was clearly put across. Of the looting or of the...
I didn't say looters, but the people that appear to be trying to break the glass at the CVS, how many people got in between them?
There might have been, it was so fast, I'll be honest, it looked like it probably could have been anywhere from 10 to 20 people just rushing the area. And luckily, the rocks stopped, and the police were, I won't deny it was a little scary at the time when the police came up with the police bikes and started to take over the situation. And I know that there was an M80 thrown, so an explosive went off. It didn't show in the video, but it happened shortly after. But at that point, it seemed like the looting had at least been stopped and the dissipation continued.
Was this just a small minority outside of that area causing that sort of picture?
As far as we could tell, 99.9% of the people that were there for a peaceful, constructive protest, that were there to be heard and to do so peacefully. Civil disobedience in the proper fashion, peaceful. We continue to push that message until we see and live in an age where we no longer have to push it because it's already commonplace. So our fight will continue.
Richard, by any chance you speak Spanish or no?
Mi español es un poco.
Could you explain a little bit actually what happened? Because we see, I mean, you were in the video.
No, yes, that was me in the video. Yes. Mm-hmm.
He's a historian.
Say that, I mean, because I was there and there were like, I think, many kind of people. There was a leader, because we saw that, I mean, it was like, there were laws, kind of laws, and you see like certain people were so aggressive, some people were very specific. Could you say all of that?
Most of it was pacifistic during the entire march. I mean, starting from Bayside, moving up all the way to Midtown, we went all the way through the mall and then down back into Biscayne with no issues until we got back to American Airlines, and that was when we said we were dissipating, and that was when people started to get home, but that was when the looting started at the very end. We don't think that they were people that were part of our protest originally, no, if that's what you're asking.
Would you say there were some people, because as the president was saying, there were people from Antifa, were people, I mean, that were like pushing all this?
I didn't see anything like that. To my understanding, usually, I mean, obviously we're all wearing face masks, so it was really hard to say if anybody was part of any individual group or if they just wanted to cause trouble. I'll be honest, it's hard for me to say. I just know that people started throwing rocks at a piece of my city, and me and Richard and many others just didn't want to see that happen.
Thank you, Ben. Really appreciate it. And And it's people like you that make Miami-Dade strong. You know, I wear this 305 strong as my mask, and we're strong and part of our community. And there are other protesters that took part in that, and protection of the CBS, and we're going to find them, and we're going to honor them also, and we're going to get you all together one day, and we're going to do it right. I just wanted to make sure that the community understood that protest, 99.9% peaceful. The intention was peaceful, that our police was there to protect the protesters, to protect their lives, and their right to protest, and the right to express their opinion. And that's America, and that's what America's all about. And I think that Ben, or either you or Richard said that at the end, some people joined your group that were not part of the total group. That started the problem. Very similar to what happened on Saturday, only in this case, brave men and women like Ben and Richard stood and said, no, not our city. You're not going to do it here. This is Miami. We're Miamians, and you're not going to do it here. I thank you. I see that you're a student of history, too, by the way, which I am also. And I think Richard is here somewhere. Is Richard here? Is he here?
He stepped out, sir.
I know. Well, if he stepped out, tell him to come back here because you really want to honor him too. And the director has a certificate for him, and right now, and a coin. Again, I can't say enough. And when I saw that yesterday, that's the spirit of Miami. That's who we are. He left? He doesn't want to come out?
He does not.
And I understand that too, being that I'm inherently shy. Okay, believe it or not, I am inherently shy. Yes, okay. I understand it very well. But we'll give him his certificate and the medal in a little private ceremony. Look, with us also today, I want to also appreciate and that Commissioner Pepe Diaz is here, Commissioner Danette Levine-Cava is here. And Anna Rodriguez is here from the state. Thank you very much for being here, State Representative, and again, thank you for your support. Our Fire Chief, Alan Kaminsky, is also here, and obviously our Director, Freddie Ramirez. Now, do I have any questions in English about the hurricane or what happened yesterday?
Are you going to extend the evacuation time to allow more people to have time to move orderly?
We get our the evacuation orders are issued once we get the flood maps from the Hurricane Center, and those are issued about 48 hours prior to the expected arrival of the storm. They have to. Why is it so that window so tight? Is because the flood maps all depend on the anticipated strength of the storm and the direction that the storm is coming from. Then the flood maps are developed, and you can't really get that way out in advance. If you did that, you would be evacuating people all the time. That's not something we want to do. We want to make sure that you are prepared. If you're in an evacuation zone, if you're in a Category 1 evacuation zone, 2, 3, 4, 5, you should know. Where if you're located, if you're going to need to evacuate, you should always have an evacuation plan. We want you to evacuate and we want you to shelter as much as possible at home, unless you're in an evacuation area, then with friends and families. But have that plan well in advance so that if the storm's coming your way, well, what am I going to do now? If you plan well in advance, it'll go a lot smoother for you.
Does that mean it's a case-by-case basis, or that you're
Yeah.
the same amount of time as earlier years?
Do you know that all storms are different, and also the confidence in each storm. When I say the confidence on the forecast is different with each storm. So it really all depends on the confidence that you have, or the confidence that the Hurricane Center has on the strength and direction when they give us the maps, and then we will issue the evacuation order. It usually starts out with Category 1, Category 2, and then as it gets closer, now it becomes a major storm, and we start to evacuate either more areas.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Some criticism for suspending transit on Sunday.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? And where are you on the curfew tonight?
The curfew will stand for tonight, and transit was suspended because after talking to my director, Many of the troublemakers use transit to get around from one part of town into another, and so we decided to suspend transit operations. What I do is, it's a risk-reward decision, and I thought that at that time, the risk wasn't worth the risk was not worth maintaining the transit system operating. All those are judgment calls, Doug. That's why I get paid the big bucks. Yes. Yes. Yeah, that was a mistake. He should not have been. If somebody, the media is exempt from the curfew. So we're looking into that, and that was a mistake.
The state has said rapid testing might be available for hurricane evacuation centers later in the year. Do you have a brand you're interested in? Are you talking in contracts with any companies? Where does that look like in Miami-Dade?
Look, if there is some kind of a rapid test that can be administered very easily, very minimal training, and gives you a reading right away, we certainly will jump on that, very quickly. But also remember, all of those tests indicate whether you have the virus or you have the antibody now. You could actually be infectious and not show it, or will be infectious and not show it. So depending on how much time you're going to stay in the shelter, we would have to test over and over again, which we're willing to do if there's a good test for that. But the one thing we have to do is maintain social distancing, and we need to wear, our masks when we can't maintain a distance of at least 6 feet in the shelter. Those masks will be provided along with disinfectant. We need to wash our hands. We need to keep away from each other. Your household can stay together. Everybody else needs to stay away at least 6 feet.
The two things, the beaches are reopening Tuesday or Wednesday?
The beaches will reopen when I lift the curfew.
You said earlier Tuesday or Wednesday. Is Tuesday still a possibility?
Tuesday's a possibility, Wednesday's a possibility, but right now the curfew's still there, so we will evaluate that. I'll get with my director, evaluate that, and we'll make an announcement. But as long as the curfew's in effect, the beaches will be closed.
And finally, can you discuss these anti-riot squads that the Justice Department has said they've already sent to Miami? What do you know about that?
Sent to Miami?
Yes.
I'll have my director answer that question.
We have our own rapid deployment forces and field force capabilities. I haven't really been briefed on that as far as riot. There may be investigators that may be coming through the FBI and the Justice Department to look at any federal violations for inciting riots or paying protesters to commit violent acts. But at this time, I have not been approached in terms of some sort of federal law enforcement task force of the like that what we have out in our community right now, keeping our community safe.
No Frank was arrested by county police or city police?
Yes, sir, it's by us.
Those were the county police made the mistake.
Yes, and we're conducting an investigation into that matter. We have a great relationship with the press, and we're going to look into it to make sure that doesn't happen again. It's a chaotic situation, a lot going on, and our intent is not to do that. Even with that, and we're going to look into it. I'm very proud of the work of the men and women of the Miami-Dade Police Department in collaboration with the community out there, keeping our community safe. I think we set the example for the nation. Personally, we should all be proud as residents of Miami-Dade County. Okay. Sí. No, sí, sí, arrestamos un reportero, estamos haciendo una investigación. Es un error y vamos a asegurar que eso no pasa otra vez. Vamos a hacer entrenamiento y a ver lo que pasó, por qué eso pasó. Pero quisiera decir que el trabajo del departamento de Miami-Dade y esta comunidad, la comunidad juntos, es que mantiene este lugar muy seguro y estoy muy orgulloso por esta comunidad y mi departamento. Trabajaron bien y hicieron el ejemplo para este país fue esta comunidad.
So let me say, I don't know if I've said it here, but I've said it about 1,000 times on other media, but I'm extremely proud of the work of the Miami-Dade Police Department. We, unlike other cities around the nation, the damage here was relatively light, and I think that the police departments, both the Miami-Dade and Miami Police Departments, showed extraordinary restraint, just the right balance of restraint and and then force when it was necessary, and averted, what's happening in other cities across the United States. And again, I think we have, if not the finest, one of the finest police departments in the world. We train other police departments in policing. We train not only other police departments in the United States, we train other police departments around the world in policing. And we are a leader. The Miami-Dade Police Department is a leader in innovative policing and policing strategies. That's why I believe and I know that we have come a long way since the 80s, 90s, and even the 2000s here in Miami-Dade. We still have a long way to go. This whole nation has a long way to go. But we are making strides, and we did listen very carefully to the pleas from the protesters yesterday. Matter of fact, we joined in their chorus. What happened in Minneapolis should never have happened, and justice needs to be served for George Floyd. Any other questions for me, hurricane or otherwise, in English? In English, okay. Now I'll introduce the chairwoman of the County Commission, Audrey Edmondson.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, especially for calling this press conference here today. I also would like to thank Ben and Richard for their leadership on yesterday. I watched it all on TV, and I think they were excellent in that. They actually put up a human line to prevent that from happening. So again, I thank them for their leadership, and it shows that we are looking for peaceful demonstrations here in Miami-Dade County. We welcome peaceful demonstrations here in Miami-Dade County, but not the violent ones. I know that we are already experiencing the uneasiness of the coronavirus pandemic, but we do not want an active storm to catch us unprepared. Remember to stock up on non-perishable items for at least 3 days for each member of your household to use in the aftermath of a storm. As we have asked residents during this pandemic, please do not hoard more than you can eat. Do not hoard more items than you can use. Let's leave some of these items in food for others so that the stores will not run out of their items. I urge all residents to check on your family members, especially the elderly who are in homes, who are in nursing homes. Check on them before, during, and after the hurricane. I urge the management of some of our senior buildings to put out their natural disaster plan and make sure training has been completed by your staff. If you remain at home, do not forget to purchase a cooler for medicine and ice in case the power goes out. As the mayor stated before, Miami-Dade County's tap water is safe to drink. But in the case of any contamination, you want to ensure that each person in the house has enough drinking water that will last them for at least 3 days. I know this is an earful, but we experience hurricane season every year, and sometimes we take it lightly. But remember, it was just a few years ago that many of our residents were out of electricity for almost 3 weeks, and that was during Hurricane Irma. So I'm going to use my 3 Ps today, and my 3 Ps are prepare, prepare, and prepare. Prepare early for this storm. Again, I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and very wise words. I would be remiss if I didn't also recognize Deputy Mayor Maurice Kemp over to my right. He's in charge of our public safety. Maurice, you've done an incredible job with our COVID-19 response, an incredible job also coordinating with our public safety agencies, police and fire departments on response to the disturbances over the weekend. And then over to my left is the emergency manager for Miami-Dade County, Frank Rollison. Again, Frank, you've done a fabulous job on COVID-19, distributing all the supplies, the planning, and then also planning for the hurricane season in light of COVID-19. Again, a fabulous job. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. And now, if there are any more questions in English, I'll move on to Spanish. Okay, vamos español. Gracias a todos aquí por mantener la distancia social y tener sus máscaras para prevenir el contagio de COVID-19. La temporada de huracanes empieza hoy y sigue hasta el 30 de noviembre. Al pasar los años hemos aprendido lecciones importantes y hemos mejorado muchas nuestras operaciones para estar preparados. El pronóstico este año es para una temporada por encima de lo normal, con entre 13 y 19 tormentas nombradas. 10 de esas tormentas podrían ser huracanes con vientos de más de 100. Tres de esas tormentas podrían ser huracanes con vientos más de 111 millas por hora. Pero sabemos que solo basta con una tormenta para tener un gran impacto en la comunidad. Por eso todo el mundo debe estar preparado y empezar las preparaciones ahora. Ya deben de tener la guía de huracanes del 2020 que les mandó a todas las residencias, se les mandó esta guía. Todo el mundo lo debe tener. Es un buen recurso con mucha información. Además, este es el momento de